my man Kenny Hyder. Put his name in here as Kenny Hyder. Anyway, guys, yeah, so we're going to be talking through just a first look at the Masters. I'm going to be doing my normal thing with sheets tomorrow, but we thought it'd be fun to take a look and go through it. I'm going to share my SaberSim screen, and we're going to talk through different price tiers, different plays we like. And I think we're going to start off with something Kenny asked me directly, and I think it's an important question to think about when you play any of your DFS contests, but especially with golf. I do think that, there's different thinking in how people want to play. Some people only play the lottery. Some people will never play those and only play single entry things. So, Kenny, let's start it off with, if we're talking about bankrolls and how much we're playing and how much we're allocating, we can use a roundish number if possible, or one close to it, something like that.
Sure. So this is kind of cool to talk it out, I guess, here. I mean, anyone that's watching this is like, I nag Bobby about this kind of stuff all the time, but we're very close, and I have the fortune of having access to him like that. But so, for me, I haven't played the past couple of weeks. I'm having a decent year anyway. I've just been kind of playing small. I don't typically play very big anyway, just because it's not it's not what I do for a living. But this week, I think I definitely believe, because of everything that you've ever taught me from poker and DFS and years and years of game theory discussions and stuff, is you want to play bigger on the bigger weeks, and it's a bigger week. There's a tournament this week that has $1 million first place that I have access to, meaning it's a $10 lineup tournament, which I can afford to play. When they have a normal week in golf, it's like $25 a lineup for the, GPP, and it's only 200K for first. And that's just not something I can afford or want to play, just because I know GPPs in general, it's a lot harder to win them. And it's a lot harder also plan, not a loss. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing smaller field events or single entries and things like that, which I tend to kind of focus on, it's a lot easier to kind of not lose so much. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not ever really worried about losing everything I put in on one week. I'm worried, if I have a loss, I usually lose a couple $100 or something like that. But
right.
This week, it's kind of, for me, what you'd said before on a bigger weeks is to have kind of a split between the single entries and smaller field stuff, and also having exposure to the lottos, because if you're playing and you're not playing for the ones that have the biggest upside, then why are you playing? And that makes a lot of sense. And you kind of have to get out of, I tend to be more of a nit, you know what I mean? So this week in particular, there's the, $10 $1 million first tournament that has nearly 500,000 people in it, which I can't even remember seeing before. Maybe at the Masters last year or something.
Yeah.
Typically the $25 one is only, I guess but is like 60,000 people or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's much smaller. But then there's also the $5 one, which is also, a much bigger field than usual, but it also has 100,000 first when it's usually a 50,000 first, And then there's, a bunch of, first of all, there's like 4 or 5 $200 single entries. There's a $400 single entry. There's a bunch of weird stuff.
Right.
But, if I'm going to play single entries, one of the kind of thumbs that you'd set for me was like, have exposure to the ones that have a $25,000 first or larger. And so this week there's several of those with the single entries. So assuming I buy into all of those and I can afford to do that, that puts me at, say $500 or whatever of just like the top end single entries. If I played 2 of the 200s and 1 of the 100s, or, or if you played, whatever, if you played all of the 200s or whatever, but going by the 25,000 for first. So then it's, a matter of how do I balance that out on the other side? Well, I've played with some success the $5 entry, even not on the big weeks, when I had, played 100 lineups or something like that. And is it better this week to, continue that and have minimal exposure to the $10 million first that's got 500,000 people in it? Because how hard it's really impossible to win that, right? So what's the difference if I, or should I try to have as much exposure to that as I can and just hope, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of my question.
Yeah. So I think that like the $10 thing, I do think that the idea being not to have everything in there is having less in there is probably a good idea. For me, I set aside these weeks when they have the smaller one, and it's like something for me, I'll max enter the $10, you know what I mean? But for if I had $1,000 of a bankroll that I would put I probably would play one. I'd probably play the big 200. I'd probably play the big 100. I'd probably play all the $5 and $8 and $12 single entries that I could.
Yeah.
And try to get it to where 60% of my 50 to 60% of my money is going towards that. However, the flip side is the chance that you actually then if you end up having those, you're going to have them at probably in the $5 also, or in maybe a $1. I don't know, tournaments I can't see probably on my thing. You're gonna kill yourself kick yourself in the head for the rest of your life, and it just feels like bad knowing you could have with the same lineup just clicked on that button and done that. So I would make sure to play some. I would probably, like I said, you can put 50% in those. I would say 30% would go to the rest would go to the $10 just because it is $1 million for first. And then 20% towards, the $5 and other things, $3 and 20 max, I think is probably a better EV tournament, obviously. Those types of things would make more sense. But I would probably still on a week where it's $1 million, and I also would encourage to try and make those lineups a little different, to leave more money on the table in those lineups, things like that, which is very easy to do this week. But I'm specifically going to go out of my way. I've already built my original stuff, and I'm going to go out of my way to leave money on the table in some of those. But in general, I do like the idea of 50% or more going towards single entry, three entry max, or high buy-in, large field stuff, a small field stuff. And then I like to put, the rest of it into the other stuff. Every now and then I'll just take a chance to say.
What about the 18 max that's $11 this week? That's a $10,000 first.
So I think it's reasonable, but I don't think it's another big tournament. So I wouldn't feel the need to have to max enter that. You know what I mean? I would feel the need to I'd be okay with getting 5 or 6 lineups in there. I don't think you have to in general, it sort of goes against, if it was a $3 tournament, I'd say yes. But when you're starting to talk about, okay, then it's going to take away 11% of your entire funds for the week. I'm not sure how I personally would feel about that.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get into the slate.
Yeah, let's get into it. All right. But I think it's important. I think bankroll stuff is stuff we should talk about more. Everybody, all sites should, and we should definitely. And please, anytime there's questions coming in about that, I get a lot of DMs about it, but I'm happy to talk about it in general. I think it's really good to be thinking that way, and most people don't. So, all right. So we're going to sort by salary here. We're going to do something, a little bit similar to what we did with Sheets and I, but using the sort of the top tier, talking about where we stand versus the field. And by the way, just throw away SaberSim's ownership projection on John Rahm. That's just completely inaccurate. It's just a glitch. And earlier the glitch was on Scotty at 55%. That was not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Trust Goldies. So I moved Goldies over for those of you guys who I keep telling. Goldies they populate at the back of the thing, so you can just move them over. That's what I do. And Sheets is you have to import, but we are going to have that fixed by the end of the month with the API from SaberSim. So anyway, top range. Who do you like, and who do you feel like you'll be ahead of the field on? And then in this, I'm going to end up taking it into it really does depend on what kind of construction you're looking for, because I think you could build a lineup without a 10K guy and feel very happy. But at the same time, if you put all the guys over 10K together, I think that there's what do you think the odds are that one of these 5 win this tournament? 30%, 40%?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be probably 30-something%, I would guess.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. But there's no reason why Xander or Joaquin, some of the guys in the next tier can't win there.
Sure.
So with that said, how do you see yourself going mostly builds wise? Are you avoiding this range? Are you playing multiple guys in this range? Are you? It's really hard to play multiple guys without doing a little uncomfortable stuff.
Right.
So you got here?
This kind of comes down to also, playing bigger and playing more lineups. I'm curious about this too. I think that there's a lot of interesting theory you could put behind how you actually build your lineups, assuming you're building more by hand like you do, as opposed to just scripting everything. You know what I mean? But my question would be, first of all, in the 10K plus range, there's only really 2 guys I'm afraid of not having exposure to, and that would be the high and the low, Scotty and Wyndham. So I'm not really too concerned about skipping Rahm or Rory or Brooks. But that's just a personal decision. It's probably not correct, you know what I mean? But that kind of leads me to my next thing is like, so if you're going to actually, first of all, I'm still going to, play 150 lineups in the mini max, which also is a 10K first this week, which is the highest I've ever seen that at as well. But, I could build it, lineups in groups of,
right?
groups of 20 or something. And then, do the same 20 with Scotty in every one of 20, and then Rom in one of 20, and then, and just have 5 guys all duplicated and switch out the top 5 and fill up the mini max that way. Like, what do you think about that kind of construction?
I think it's interesting. It's not the way that I tend to end up building. But I think that there's some merit to it. I don't think that the thing is with Scotty, like, as we always point out with this, like, these guys, because they're the most expensive, they don't necessarily have to win. And it feels like, I mean, Scotty's got twice the chance of a top 5 as any other player statistically going into this tournament. So is the most logical, obviously, guy you'd want to get up to, and you'd be afraid not to have him because for everything we've seen for the past 3 years, basically. I like, instead of just spreading it out with all of them, I'm definitely taking a little bit more stands. I'm going to be well overweight Brooks. It's enough of a discount, and I don't care what recent form Brooks has. It means nothing to me. Of the last, Hideki won the Masters after playing his worst golf ever for 3 months straight. Okay. Brooks finished second after playing his worst golf ever. This is not impossible for guys who know this course. So I'm giving a little less weight to it with the top level guys, especially Brooks, because I mean, if you listen to Brooks, any of you guys who have watched Fairway Rolling, you know exactly how much it means to him that all that matters to him is the Masters. All that matters to him is the majors. He does not care about the regular season, the other stuff. He just doesn't care. So I'm just going to throw it away. And I actually love Brooks. So Brooks is the one I have the most of Scotty, because I think that it's just like the safest. If you're playing cash, I think you should start with Scotty.
Right.
But Brooks is right there for me and then Rom is not that far behind. And I have exposure to Rory, and currently I have exposure to Wyndham. So I'm actually, because partly my style, I like to find the 6K guys to try and get 2 of the 6K top 10s that make it. Mm-hmm. I'm actually somehow overweight on Goldie's projections on everyone in this range, with the exception of Rory, who I'm just like a little bit under the field, like basically right by the field, like 15% versus 17%.
And that's probably a great way to build. Just be overweight on all of them, and then figure out the rest later.
Figure out who we're gonna set some lines in, because there's some guys in the 6K range who I really like this week, and I could see them, having a chance to top 10. And there's a lot of guys in the 7K range that just feel way too cheap. So I found it not all that difficult to get one of them in to a good portion of my lineups. Now, I do have lineups that start with Xander, like I mentioned, but overall, most of them are going to include that 10K range. And my favorites would be Brooks and Scotty. But again, factoring everything in, I don't want to sleep on Rom here. And I don't want Wyndham's never played officially a tournament here, but I think that dude has the stuff. Like, I mean, he's legitimately been unbelievable. He has the right mentality. I tell you what, Kenny, my new strategy, every single guy who has has recently hired, just like Akshay a month ago, hired a golf psychologist, then he wins this. Brooks, a month after he hires Wyndham, a month after he hires he won the US Open. And then he keeps, now he's just right there every week.
Right.
So anyway, that's something I thought was interesting. 9K range, a lot of good stuff to like. You're going to have 2 guys who really don't see any ownership compared to what we're used to. Curious what you think about this range, and I'm curious what we're going to do with that Q tag on Jordan Spieth now. I don't know what the hell that's doing there.
Well, I don't mind that at all, because I was going to skip him anyway. I think he's just going to be too popular. He's too volatile for me. He already won it. He's not. I don't know. He doesn't fit it for me this week anyway. But I think. It's hard to not like Xander. He's also been great. I think he's quietly been great. I think people will get off of him. So I think his ownership will probably go down. But also hard to not like Neiman, because he's also been on a tear and on the world tour as well, not just, live and all that. So those 2 are my favorite in the range, which is unfortunate because they're the most expensive in the range. But fortunately for me, I don't really mind skipping too much of the rest of it. I like a little bit. I like Zalatoris just because his history here is great, and it looks like he's maybe back, maybe better. Who knows? But it's fun to root for him anyway. And then just on a numbers on paper, Oberg just checks all the boxes. So
Right.
probably I'll end up heavier on him than the rest of the range, just because Schauffele's projected to be the highest owned. So
right.
Yeah.
So no, I hear you. I mean, like early in the week, it looked like it looked like Zalatoris was going to get like zero ownership at all. And then I was definitely interested in doing something with that. I am so overweight. So Neiman is my second highest owned golfer right now of any player at any range. So I'm definitely going to be well over this. I think this is too low. I mean, first of all, he's been in the best form. He's played well at Augusta before. He arguably, like, he legitimately might be like the third or fourth best player in the world. It's just really hard to know with the way things are right now. If you took the live numbers, he would be the second best player in the world behind Scotty, like basically.
Right.
And then Wyndham. Those would be the top three. So I love Neiman. I think Xander, I'm probably going to end up below because I think he's going to end up really high owned. It doesn't mean I don't like him. I really like him. I just feel like there's a lot of other things I can do and not play a guy who's, might end up 25%. So I'm probably going to end up closer to 15% on Xander, even though like I would tag him as a core. I would try to play he and Scotty in cash. But Hovland is one I'm going to use some of that ownership to get overweight on. I was going to be underweight Spieth. Now I'm going to probably consider going overweight if people are worried, because he's going to play if he's questionable. And I'll wake up early in the morning and make sure. But I am totally okay with playing, when perception goes one way, I want to go the other. And Spieth early in the week looked like he was going to be 25% owned. It's already dwindling. So I'm curious where that number ends up, because I'm gonna keep an eye on it. And I'd like to be now over if he's going to end up being like 10%. If he's like 15 or 20, I'm okay with being like just near the field. I like being overweight on Zalatoris. I like being underweight Oberg. And I love Oberg. I think that he's got a great future. It just feels funny that we're using this narrative about these golfers for why they will be good here and why they won't be good here and all this stuff. And then we're going to just assume that Oberg is for sure going to be good without having played it before. That's a little alarming to me. Hideki has been unbelievable form lately. He's another one that I have as like a priority. But even looking at it, like even as I tried to keep getting him in, I just like some of these other guys enough to where I'm at 17% Hideki right now. That feels just fine to me. If I can shave a few percentage points off of each and get to 18% or 20% of Hovland, that's probably what I'm going to do, because I'll throw away recent stuff. I believe the best golfers are the best golfers, and Hovland is one of them. And I think you could make a similar argument for Cantlay and just say, hey, you know what? Why don't we just build? And I did that. I built a couple. Okay, you know what? I can build chalk the rest of my lineup. I'll play a Hovland Cantlay lineup. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's stuff like that is something I'm doing. But I have exposure on these tournaments when I'm max entering to basically every player with the small field. So there's nobody I'm totally fading, but that's why I'm sort of talking about over and underweight in terms of the ownership.
Right.
All right. So we're going to have some conversations in this 8K range. What do you got here?
So I would love to love Cam Smith. I used to love him. He has made me money back when he was on the PGA, but I don't know. I guess you got to kind of have some exposure to him, if not heavy. I'm not sure. Also, I also, in the range personally, I really like Bryson. I think he's going to be low owned. I think people are going to just see that he's been cut a couple times here and, think that he doesn't care and he's not capable. But I mean, he shot a 57 or something earlier in the season. Like he's obviously, even if he's playing on live and playing easier courses and stuff, he's obviously, not bad. And I think this is a couple years ago, he was, 9,800 or something. Like, I think he's definitely underpriced here just because of, his stats don't match the weighting on the PGA Tour. Also, I do, and I'm interested now that it seems like, I guess the ownership wasn't out, but interesting to see that Tony Finau is rated to be higher owned than he typically is, which I think makes him more interesting to me. I do think he's also one of the guys that should be good here, and hopefully he's better. I mean, he seems like he's better now than he was last season, so maybe he has a better finish. He has experience here too, so that's kind of where I'm at in the range. Everyone else is kind of a big question mark for me. So how about you?
Yeah, it's an interesting range. So my two highest owned players in this range by far will be Shane Lowry and Cam Young.
Oh wait, Shane Lowry's in here? Oh, I didn't even. Sorry, he's in.
No problem.
Shane Lowry, and then the next two guys are starred on mine, so I missed that because that's where my targets are.
Yeah. Oh no, I got you because it's on the
Shane Lowry, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Shane Lowry, I love. Cam Young, I love. I think you could make a lot of good cases to get a little different here. I don't know what I feel about Bryson, to be honest with you. I've heard a lot of narratives, a lot of people betting him outright. It feels like a fishy thing to me a little bit. I would rather play Lowry. I would rather play Sam Burns, and I will probably shift. I have DeChambeau. I thought he was going to be higher owned. I thought he was going to be like 20% owned. I was trying to get underweight, and I'll probably shift even more of my ownership over to Homa. Morikawa cannot hit an iron shot to save his life right now. And it sucks because this would have been the most popular play any other time. I mean, it's the easiest play at the Masters to play Morikawa at 8,400. I just can't. I don't know. I haven't seen him hit a good iron shot in it feels like a year. Justin Thomas, similar type of thing, but he's been better a little bit lately. So those are the sort of the iffy. I'm not so sure, guys. I don't know where DJ's ownership is really going to end up, and that's going to dictate a lot of what I do with him. I do know where Cam Smith is going to end up, and I will absolutely be overweight Cam Smith and just ignore all the recent stuff. I have no care about anything.
Okay.
He probably will be my third highest owned player in this price range behind Cam Young, Lowry, and Sam Burns. Sam Burns is the other one for me.
Interesting.
I am very, very high on those guys. I think Sam Burns and Cam Young are built to win these tournaments. And look, Cam Young, all he does, people keep saying, oh, he doesn't win a PGA Tour event. All he does is come in the top 2 or 3 every time he plays a freaking major. I'm in on that. So that's where I'm at with this range. All right, we can move down into we'll go 7,500 to 7,900.
Okay. So the interesting thing is on Data Golf, they have a rating of who's most likely to be in the winning lineup from 0 to 1, right?
Right.
And typically every week, Scotty's a 1 and everyone else falls into their various places. This week, Fitzpatrick is number 1 most likely to be in the winning lineup. So I guess that means he's going to probably be also the most popular play on the slate. And what do you do with that? That's kind of my question mark. I mean, I like Brian Harmon. I like maybe a little Sahith. I like Tyrrell Hatton this week. And I'm going to have to like Fleetwood just because I know you do. And I know you're not wrong. But what do you do with Fitzpatrick, showing up for the first time way down here, rated super high, and still only projected, 15,
I'm not sure about these ownerships.
It's going to be 33%, right? I mean,
I think it could be like 25%. I think that's very, very possible. I agree that it's going to be higher. If we could bet the over on this projection of ownership, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, I bet the over immediately right now. I don't care what the odds are. But what do you do with that? You know what I mean? Because great, he took some weights out of his driver, and that's going to change everything. Well, maybe I don't know. This now he can actually get some distance, or what? What do we?
Who Fitz?
Yeah,
this has been one of the longest drivers on tour.
No, but you heard this whole controversy that happened with him, right?
Yeah. Where
he had weights in the handle of his driver and forgot about it for a year, and then he took the weights out, and now the past couple tournaments has been on a tear.
I don't know. That whole thing is so weird to me. I honestly I'm trying to ignore that part of it and just see how I feel about him. There's some sticker shock. I think this ownership, especially high buy-in single entry, you might see like 30+%. Really, really.
That's what I'm saying. So what do you do then? So that's the question: is do you just go? I guess that's just the easy chalk to eat, right?
Right. Well,
Fitzpatrick at 7,900. Okay, I guess so. Because if I'm going to play half my buy-ins on single entries, then then I need to figure this out. You know what I mean? Like that's a problem.
yeah. I would say that I would probably lean towards having him more than not in single entry, but if not, I think that Sahith is going to be the popular pivot. I think we both like Brian Harmon.
Yeah, Brian Harmon would be my go-to anyway. But
in general at this course, so I'm sort of good. I'm not really doing much of the Jason Day, Sung JM thing.
No.
I do have some Hatton, but I'm loaded in this range, and my highest owned player is Tommy Fleetwood. Corey Connors is not that far behind. I really like Connors here. It seems like the only courses he can ever putt on are that San Antonio course and this one. But I like the Connors Fleetwood Fitz from this range is easily my favorite with a head nod to that somehow I still have a ton of Thigala. So I'm actually at like 18% Thigala. I just have a little bit more of all these other guys. And I have like 35% Fleetwood right now. I think it's a very easy play. It feels like a safe play. And it feels like one that has plenty of upside. So those are the guys I'm overweight on. And I still like the Hatton thing. It's always a little bit hard. I like to run a bunch of stuff during the Masters week or the majors, because I want to really like go through everything over and over again, and also see how the trends start changing with the ownership, which you've seen a lot of happening lately, and I think that's going to affect some guys.
I mean, when's the last time, by the way, that Tyrrell Hatton has cost $7,600? Not the last time I played him.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. No, all of these guys.
He's cost 10,000 before. So is Fitz.
They all have.
Shane, yeah.
Jason Day, obviously. Yeah.
This is wild.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll lead out this 7K to 7,400 range. I don't really have the bottom of the seven. I don't have this 7K. I do have some Harris English. I'm overweight him. He's the only one of the bottom range that I'm overweight. Oh no, that's not true. I'm overweight Adam Scott, and I'm right near the field on Siwoo. Again, I probably similar. I have a tiny bit of Jaeger, but probably similar to like the 5% that he ends up. I don't have any Justin Rose. If Akshay plays, I'm going to be well overweight. I don't care. It's not because he just won. Give me the lefties in general at the Masters. Give me shot shapers and guys who can bomb it. I mean, what else do you want for? He's 7,200, except for the fact that he may have hurt himself celebrating. That's the one thing that I'm concerned about. So Akshay and Russell Henley. If I'm really concerned, I just pivot over to Russell Henley because I love that play as well. I was going to be overweight Minwoo. I'm a little concerned with this. I think he's going to play, but I'm just concerned that he's actually hurt. I got to look a little more into that one. Oh, and then I unfortunately have some Patrick Reed. I have like 4% Tom Kim, but nothing worth talking about. But mostly it's going to be Henley, Bhatia, Adam Scott, and Siwoo for me in terms of my ownership here.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you on Henley and Siwoo, 100%. The only other person, well, Harris. I like Harris English a little bit too, just because I do think I think he definitely plays better in big, major events. But I do lean a little bit more towards Jaeger, just because I think he's like in a good spot to be one of the people that has a good showing his first time. You know what I mean? Like other than, Wyndham and Oberg, who you didn't think was a good pick for the first time. But I don't know. You got to take a couple spots here. Some people are going to play none of the guys who's, first time. So you got to pick your spots. And he I feel like has been pretty good overall. So I'll have a little bit of exposure to him too.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, by the way, if Akshay plays, he hasn't played the tournament, but he has played the drive, pitch, and whatever putt thing that they have.
Yeah.
So he's got at least a little bit. And by the way, I am gonna it's just there's no budging from me on this. I'm not gonna change my mind. It's gonna be 5% and no more, no less of Phil Mickelson. I'm just gonna I want to have some chances in case something crazy happens. It wouldn't shock me. I just think there's too many good golfers around him for me to play a heavy amount, right?
Sure.
All right, so let's so I'll trickle down this 6K range because I've got some guys quite a bit. The one I want to add more of is Chris Kirk, actually, because I did a little bit more digging. I have your guy, a guy who I know you're going to like, and Sergio a decent amount. I've actually come on to Højgaard a little bit. I've come on to Keegan Bradley a little bit, but again, these are all like mostly 5%ers for me because it's going to be spread out for me down here. Benny On is another one that I'd like to get some exposure to. Same with Eric Van Rooyen. I'll be well overweight, though, the Adam Hadwin. I will definitely have double-digit ownership of Adam Hadwin. At least I'm planning to. I will definitely have double-digit ownership Taylor Moore. Maybe significant. Right now, I've got him like 20%. I love Taylor Moore. He's in great form. He's an awesome golfer. He can't always quite put it together, but he's starting to a little bit. I could see him having a good one. I like Kitayama. So I like a lot of these guys down here, which is why, again, I can get to the top. But my favorite, Taylor Moore and Adrian Meronk. I was gonna save Meronk for last as my favorite. I love Adrian Meronk, and I will also have exposure to Eckroat and who's the other one? Oh, Denny McCarthy. I will probably even be over the field, unfortunately. Again, at higher buy-ins, expect that number to be like double.
I love it. Yeah, I'm with you most of the way here. I'm going to end up having to add in some Adam Hadwin because of your review. Definitely Benny On, who got added to the field late. I think he's also going to, he's projected pretty highly owned, I guess, now. But it depends on where you're looking.
Yeah.
But I also like the Meronk play. I think that's a great play just because he, kind of went to live, especially he went like the week before the Sony or something, like right at the start of the season. And he was going to be like one of the most popular plays on the slate. And then he went to live. And now I think everyone's going to forget about him. So, I think he's underpriced because of that as well. I love the Taylor Moore play as well. Taylor Moore also by far and away, from a stats perspective, checks off the best in this range.
Yep.
It's not even close. So I think going heavy on him is ideal. I think here's the question now is I think all of the, high buy-in single entry guys are going to know that. And that, he'll probably be 16% owned or something. And
I don't think so, because I think they'll play McCarthy as the cheap one because he feels the safest.
Interesting.
That's my take.
I mean, he's my other guy that started here, but I think, I guess, I guess that's interesting.
Yeah. I think that McCarthy is going to get the bulk of it just because, he's also a decent enough play here. Like he could have been 7,200 this week and he still would probably be getting some ownership.
Right.
I don't think
the other couple I have questions about are Griot, who I typically like and usually does great. I'm kind of curious why he's priced down here, but that's fine. I'm gonna play him. But also I'm a little bit curious about Peter Malnati.
Oh my God! Okay.
He just won a couple.
Oh, I know.
Things ago, like he's obviously going to be in good form. He seems like. Also, I've been watching the live from the Masters all since yesterday morning early, and it's been on all day since then, yesterday and today, and will be for the next couple of days. But one thing they were talking about Scotty is he's so solid mentally and blah 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 blah, and we can get in. You already alluded to being kind of behind this anyway, but. Their analysis was that Scotty is maybe that way, such a fortitude mentally, just because he's also like a super big family man, is like, big man of faith and all that stuff. And I get the same sense from Peter Malnati. I think he's just like a super wholesome dude, and he just had a win. He's probably the happiest he's ever been. And now he's going to play the Masters, I think for his first time. I'm not sure, but
I think so. I'm not 100%.
Look, the dude just did great, and now he's way down here in price range. He can definitely compete with anyone. He, went up against the best of them. So, might take a couple shots with him as well, especially because he's probably going to be like less than 1% owned. So, and he's $6,200. So he might be, that's how you get Scotty and Rory together. You know what I mean? But I don't know if you want to do it in the single entries necessarily.
I'm trying to figure out why my core plays aren't showing up, but they're there. Just wanted to. Look, there's a lot of guys I've got, but that's because golf is not like other things. You do want to have spread out ownership. You don't want to have 100% of basically anybody. It's just mathematically can't be that positive for you to do that in golf usually.
Right.
But just real quick, so these are my core. So it's a long group, but those are the guys, you know. And again, I don't have just the high owned guys. I've got some low owned stuff in there. Oh, you know what I'm going to add to it is Taylor Moore, just because realistically I've got 20% of them. That makes him a core play for me right now. Like, even though I don't think you like need to play him. I mean, you probably pick he or Denny, but I think you could also make an argument for your double spend up lineups. Maybe you play a Rahm and Scotty, or maybe you play a Scotty and Rory, and you play those two value plays to sort of balance it out. Interesting route. So coming away from this, instead of going, we're not going to do the game and everything because we've got to get going in a minute. But if you had to pick, you know, let's say you had to pick I don't know, 3 or 4 of your favorite guys to make it. I think the Malnati is the most off the board one. That's interesting. But who did you?
And I'm not really standing by that.
No,
either. I just think it's interesting.
But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Who do you got in the like 3 or 4 guys to look out for this weekend? Maybe that aren't quite as popular, or that you're just, I don't care about the ownership. I'm just going to own these guys.
Well, I think Bryson, which he's not super popular. Definitely, I think it's the whole question is Fitzpatrick. How popular is he going to be? Because he's cheap and he's, you know, in a lot of different metrics rated to be, you know, one of the best plays on the slate. So, and even in our own, you know, projections is like he's top 5 and he's the cheapest by a lot. You know what I mean? So how high is that ownership going to go? That's a big question mark for me.
Yeah.
And then, you know, also Xander. I think, you know, he's gonna win majors. It's just a matter of when. So maybe now. And he's been in great form. And you know, I've been playing actually like some one and done leagues as well, and had him at the Players when he was right there second to Scotty, and you know, could have got the 4.5 million, but instead just got the 2.5 or whatever. And it was just like a huge swing because Scotty was the most popular play that week, because, you know, you got to play Scotty in the biggest weeks and stuff. But I think, you know, and he's projected to have plenty of ownership, but I just feel like, you know, there's a big price discount to be, you know, Sheets value scorers. He's got Scotty beat, you know what I mean? So probably going to have to like really consider how I do my construction at the top, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting because I always think about different pairings that like I could see Scotty and Rahm, actually, some people doing that, or some people go Scotty and Brooks. I don't think people are going to do as much of like the Rory and Brooks or Rahm and Brooks. I know that sounds funny, but people tend to go, oh, we'll go up, we'll go down, we'll go up and down, but we're getting the middle guys. We don't put them together. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's just an interesting like lineup construction thing that I've noticed in the past. All right, well, we got to get out of here because we've got to get a company call going. And Kenny, good luck to us this week. I'm sure we'll be in constant contact. I'm going to come down probably to visit you. So
Yeah.
We'll be more than close.
We're going to have a great time.
And all you TrueDFSers, like, let's make some money this week. We want to remind everybody we still have the code MLB24 up for a very short period of time, 24% off your first month. Take advantage of that. We've got extremely competitive pricing. We're pricing literally within a few dollars of SaberSim. We have SaberSim's content, Sheets' content, all of Goldie's projections, my content, Rody's.
And our premium Discord where you can just go ask Bobby these questions yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's worth it. And in Sheets, and more importantly, was been the big winner this year. Anyway, Kenny, thanks so much for joining us, man. Good luck to everybody this week.
Good luck, everyone.